Let's talk about the Bugbear, from original Dungeons & Dragons to 5th edition. Welcome to my channel. I focus on tabletop role-playing games, video games, and science fiction. The first description of Bugbears occurs on page 34 of Greyhawk. The monsters are of the giant class, being great, hairy goblin-giants. Not much more detail is given in Greyhawk. Then we come to the first edition. The first edition of Dungeons & Dragons gave a little bit more detail. Their intelligence is listed as low to average. They are 7 feet tall or more. They are described as hairy giant goblins. The second edition of Dungeons & Dragons say they are 7 feet tall with low to average intelligence from 5 to 10. They are giant hairy cousins of goblins. The third edition of Dungeons & Dragons say they are 7 feet tall with an intelligence of 10. They are the biggest and strongest of the goblinoids. Okay, goblinoids. That's sort of a strange concept, but whatever. The fourth edition of Dungeons & Dragons say they have an intelligence of 10 and they're big, tough goblins. Then we come to the 5th edition. The 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons say they have an intelligence of 8 or 10, depending upon whether they're small or big. And Volo's Guide makes Bugbears a character race. Okay, so Bugbears have +2 on strength and +1 on dexterity, and their size is from 6 feet to 8 feet tall. So we've actually come somewhat round circle, as the saying goes, because in Men and Magic, on page 8, Page 8 of Men and Magic says, there is no reason that players cannot be allowed to play as virtually anything, provided they begin relatively weak and work their way up to the top. For example, a player wishing to be a dragon would have to begin, let's say, as a young one and progress upward in the usual manner, steps being predetermined by the campaign referee. Okay, first thing, we don't have, in the original Dungeons & Dragons, the phrase Dungeon Master doesn't occur. That didn't occur until 1st edition, or AD&D, whichever you prefer. So the campaign referee or Dungeon Master decided what other character you could play. I've actually done this, and you have to be very careful. It's easy to create something that's a little bit, shall we say, unusual. Undead or semi-dead types are difficult. I played a shadow as a player character, which was a problem. It was a little bit too overpowering, even though we cut back a bunch of the things about it. But finally, with 5th edition, you can play a Bugbear. And though they have changed the stuff, they're no longer described as hairy, which is sort of strange. All the pictures of them show them as hairy, but they're not. The description, it dropped the word hairy in the 3rd edition. So the 3rd, 4th, and 5th never mention the fact that they're hairy, though the pictures show them that way. So you take that, whatever that means for you. They have a +2 on strength and a +1 on dexterity. That means that they'd be a fairly good fighter type, which sort of fits with what they describe as their characteristics. The other thing that's going back into Greyhawk, and actually in the precursor of Dungeons & Dragons, which is Chainmail. I've got a copy of that on the shelf over there too. Chainmail talks about how goblins and all the goblins hate dwarves and will attack them on sight. So that got dropped along the line, and I didn't notice exactly where the anonymity between dwarves and goblins and bugbears dropped off. But that would be something that would be an interesting thing to play. And think about that as playing a player character where you absolutely hate dwarves and will attack them on sight. So that could add some interesting complications depending upon your campaign, how common dwarves were. Or the party may have to restrain them or whatever to stop him from attacking dwarves on sight. Or maybe because he's a player character, he has the will, but he doesn't like them. That he has a strong animosity toward dwarves. That would be an interesting characteristic to play them. It's interesting that their intelligence, they don't have a negative on intelligence. With other character classes in Volos, that they actually drop the intelligence. I believe, well, I don't have it here, I believe it was the orc, they dropped the intelligence, which makes bugbears more intelligent than orcs. And that's somewhat a little odd to me, because if let me pull my little notes up here, that orcs, yeah, let's see, orc has a -2 on intelligence, but a bugbear doesn't have anything. So bugbears are more intelligent than orcs? That's sort of a problem. And the same thing, bugbears and goblins have the same intelligence as elves and just about everything. Let's see, they half elf, well, there's half orc, tieflings have a +1 on intelligence. All the Asimar, the Furbolg, the Goliath, the Kinku, the lizard folk, the Tabaxi, the Triton, the bugbear, the goblin, all have the same intelligence. The hobgoblin is more intelligent, and the orc is the only one that has a negative intelligence attribute modifier. So it sort of makes you wonder about why anybody would really want to play an orc. But we'll get into it when I do the thing on orc. We'll talk about the orc. But here the bugbear is as intelligent as any of the other characters, which sort of doesn't fit well. Making them hairy brings up interesting questions, since we're older, hair makes it easier for vermin like fleas. So could the bugbear get infested with fleas? Make an interesting flaw on the character that the fleas, and could be like certain other animals. Certain chimpanzee are known to groom each other and eat the fleas. It's just a little bit more protein in your diet. So the bugbear could be, scratching and pulling off fleas and eating them and being angry at dwarves. So I'd like to hear about your experience playing bugbears in the 5th edition. It comes round circle that now 5th edition literally blesses having other character types. It's the first ones that I remember since original Dungeons and Dragons, which specifically said you could. I mean, there are other people who've created other races and so on. But I'd like to hear your experiences with bugbears. And tell me if you think that they make a good character race, and what kind of flaws and what kind of imperfections have you added when you played them. Thank you for watching my video. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all your comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I appreciate both forms of feedback. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon on the left. If you're interested, there's more content on the right.